Earl at thelogbook.com, back for a special Voyage of Shelf Discovery. We're going to have a little talk here. This isn't really going to be, we're not going to open anything. It's, I need to get something off my chest here. So here's what we know. The Star Wars Lego set for the ship that we have known for 40 years as Slave One is being released as Boba Fett's Starship. Okay. That's what we know. That's the one fact, the one data point we have. Everything else is supposition, and everything else is someone's opinion. So why is everyone so up in arms about this? Well, I suppose it's something to do. This is why we keep our portable outrage devices handy at all times, right? So we know what to be mad about. Okay, whatever. Got it. Here is why this is not a big deal at all. That's right, Puck. Slave One is named on screen as such once. Not in a movie, not even in The Mandalorian. It's in an episode of the Clone Wars as young Boba Fett is trying to get his revenge on Mace Windu for the death of Jango Fett. That episode was R2 Come Home, which premiered in 2010. So we have, again, one data point. The ship is not named Slave One on screen in The Empire Strikes Back or in Attack of the Clones, the only movies in which it appears. And in The Mandalorian, it's only referenced once when Fennec Shand tells Boba Fett, "You better get to your ship." So, Slave One was called Slave One on screen once. But hey, you remember our old friend Walrus Man? What about Hammerhead? What about Snaggletooth? Or Yak Face, or Squid Head. Okay, so names established by marketing and merchandising for Star Wars, even if those names were originated or approved by Lucasfilm, have changed before, lots of times. Walrus Man is now, and I actually have notes here in front of me so I have got this straight. Walrus Man is now Ponda Baba. Snaggletooth is now Zutton. Hammerhead is Moman Adon, and I can't even find what Squid Head is, but I think he's a member of an aquatic species that competes with the Mon Calamari on their shared home planet, if I remember my Star Wars lore correctly. Yak Face is something else now, too, that I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I will probably get it wrong. A lot of these new names started to show up in the late 80s and early 90s, not with the Hasbro Power of the Force figures, but with the West End Games Star Wars role-playing game, which I am not sure is ever going to really get its due for reshaping and, yes, renaming a great deal of the Star Wars universe. And before we go trying to say that Lucasfilm-approved merchandising names are sacrosanct, let's not forget that little mix-up between Zuckuss and Forlom, or 4LOM, two characters who swapped names when their action figures were first introduced, and I still have a hard time remembering which is which. What I called Zuckuss as a kid, sorry, that one is still Zuckuss to me. I'm not going to try to play the very logical card that it's all the intellectual property of Lucasfilm and Disney, and they could call it all whatever they want, because I know some people just check out on the conversation the moment that you breathe the word Disney into being. And, by the way, none of this controversy concerns Disney at all. They can, with or without, this very loud, this very vocal, and probably very small faction of fandom that's up in arms about the fact that Slave One is no longer Slave One, Disney can still pretty much print their own money. Just imagine whole sheets of $100 bills rolling off the press with Grogu's face in place of Benjamin Franklin. That's what they're doing, whether you like the renaming of Boba Fett's ship or not. In the meantime, if they decide it suits their longer-term creative goals, names are the least of their worries. Whole storylines and characters have been jettisoned. Just ask Jason and Jaina Solo. Ask Akmena and Sandan. And what of Jaxon? Poor Jaxon. What about poor Grand Admiral Thrawn? Oh, Oh, wait a minute. He's actually back. You see, it's all malleable and it's all made up to begin with. And there's something else we're overlooking. This may be presaging some development yet to be revealed in the book of Boba Fett. After she picked off all of Bib Fortuna's guards and enforcers in the building formerly known as Jabba's Palace, what does Fennec Shand do? She blasts the slave girl's chain and frees her. Maybe she decides to change the name of the ship. Or, maybe they don't even name the ship. Or maybe they rename the ship. You know what I call my vehicle? I call it the Porg Wagon. That's got a nice ring to it. The Porg Wagon. Don't use that. That doesn't really work for Boba Fett's ship, though. But Earl, you're saying, I read articles that the actor who played Boba Fett is pissed off about this. Okay. The person who's pissed off about this is an ILM visual effects previs artist named Mark Anthony Austin. He wore the Boba Fett armor for extra additional footage shot for the 1997 Star Wars Special Edition. So, the whole thing where we're panning around Jabba's palace and Boba Fett's, here's looking at you to one of the dancing girls. Okay, that's Mark Anthony Austin in the Boba Fett armor. He's also done previs on quite a few Marvel movies, Star Trek Beyond, Pokemon, Detective Pikachu, Cruella, Ready Player One, a bunch of others. So when you read that the Boba Fett actor is pissed off about this, try to keep that in perspective, because this guy was Boba Fett for a day. Okay, he was Boba Fett for a day longer than I was, but again, perspective. Jeremy Bulloch has already left us, and I don't see Temuera Morrison getting involved with this because he's too busy being Boba Fett right now. So, perspective. Now, if I might offer one additional data point for you, it is known that the same kind of mass-scale social media influencing operations that have unfortunately been attempting to sway elections in this country for the past 5+ years in the social media sphere, these same operations have been deployed successfully to turn pop culture discussions into culture war issues for no reason, just for the sake of sowing discord in the public conversation. This was actually observed and documented in the social media discussions surrounding The Last Jedi and Solo, especially on Twitter. So before you see people going off about Slave One losing its name on social media and you decide that the world needs your hot take or that you need to take a side, consider that element. You may be wandering into a manufactured debate that wouldn't otherwise be a debate at all. To be honest, this deserves about as much consideration as why Walrus Man and Squid Head aren't Walrus Man and Squid Head anymore. They'll always be Walrus Man and Squid Head to me. They're made-up names for made-up characters. I see people going off about, revisionist history and political agendas. What history? These are made-up elements of fictional stories. I get that these stories mean a lot to a great many people, myself included. But save your passions and your visceral reactions for issues that affect the real world around you, please. In Revenge of the Sith, in Episode 3, Yoda and Mace Windu both mention that the dark side is obscuring their ability to intuitively navigate the rapidly shifting political situation that surrounds the Jedi, and this ultimately is a major factor in the fall of the Jedi, as Palpatine consolidates his power and turns the Republic into the Empire. That's a great metaphor. It's one that was way ahead of its time, as I fear a lot of elements of the much maligned prequel trilogy are going to turn out to be. You substitute social media manipulation, he said, carefully, for the dark side of the Force, and you're onto something. Look through the smokescreen. Think before you react. See the situation for what it is. Someone has made a marketing decision somewhere that has renamed a fictional spaceship. Do you know what that means to people who are not hip deep in Star Wars lore? Absolutely nothing. So, my Slave 1 back here on the wall is no longer Slave 1. I'm not offended. I don't really care. Except for this. You know what? Since it's in the box, I bet the value of that thing is gone